Namaste and a very good morning, everybody. This is Prerna. I'm here today with Yash on a brand new brilliant series called Why Should I Care? Hashtag To Hame Kya? And Yash does this amazing work with policy. He does all things for the youth. And I'm here today to try and understand why should young people care about policy making. Do they play any role at all? Why should they care? Why should I care? If I'm a 20-year-old student or I'm a young professional in my late 20s, how does policy making affect me at all? Is it about boring lectures I see on TV channels? Is it about Rajya Sabha TV? Is it about parliamentarians talking about things that I don't understand on a lot of occasions? What is this about, Yash? Over to you.
Firstly, thank you so much for having me, Prerna, and for starting this very wonderful series of conversations. We can never have enough of just people sharing their experience and learning, right?
Yeah.
I keep telling people that so much of knowledge within policies resides with individuals, right? It's not institutionally captured, so the more the merrier. Coming back to what you asked, I think a fundamental premise is something that we can all agree upon, that policy impacts everyone. Policy making, the choices that people in positions of power and influence make, right, impacts your day-to-day life in every shape and form and manner, right, far beyond the confines of what we can possibly just imagine or put numbers to, right. That's one thing. Secondly, if if I were to put this in a very basic sort of a structure, that how do we get people to care about something like this, right, or get them interested. I've been running a platform for like 3 years, right, where we it's called Public Policy India, right, and where we help make policy issues more engaging and accessible for everyday Indians, right? And especially folks from outside of policy, right? And tell them that, hey, this is why you should care about policy, right? Why this is why it matters. There I've noticed one thing, it's almost like first you connect with them, then you get them to care, then you clarify, basically, right?
First you get them to connect.
Then you get them to care about it, and then you clarify, right?
And how do you follow through on those 3 steps?
Yes. So when I say you get them to connect, essentially one of the flaws that we've seen in policy communications in all these years is people talk from a high perch, right? That I know more than you, right? That it's a very elite enterprise, which it is, but when you're communicating it, it can't come across as so, right? And so the idea is that you tell people, it's almost like a lowest common denominator thing, that you tell them about something that that they know about, right? So that you're on the same page about something to begin with, and then you take them into the policy thing, right? So for example, if I'm talking about the economy, right, I won't, like we had the GDP numbers released yesterday, right? I won't start with that, private consumption is still sagging in India, right? Doesn't forebode well for our future trends, right? That's, people are okay, whatever, right? But the moment you tell them that the economy has been doing well and this means more job opportunities, right? Maybe next year you can ask for a bigger hike in your salary or something, whatever, right? Humanize it, constantly humanize everything, right? You got that, right? So when I say that you have to connect with them, you tell them something that that they know already, that you'll agree with me that a faster growing economy is good for everyone. It's better for everyone, right? More income, more consumption, right? More savings, a better quality of life, right? The moment you have done that, someone will be like, oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, you're right, right? That person doesn't work in policy, probably doesn't know what policy is, but this is almost like basic knowledge, right? It's a truism. You've connected with that person, right? To engage them in a policy conversation, right? Second, you tell them then why they should care, right? So at that point, what you're trying to do is trying to make the subject relevant to them, right? So if if someone is working in, say, a hospital, right, in the healthcare sector as a public health worker, you can tell them that I'm sticking to the same example, that with the economy growing faster, it means more resources for the government to invest in healthcare.
Okay.
Right? Again, just sticking to the same example, and the moment then you do that, the person is okay, they can draw inferences. The economy growing faster has impact for me, for my job, right, and whatever it is that I'm trying to do, right? And then you clarify, which is essentially that you tell them the policy angle in it, right? That, for example, there's only so much money that the government can spend. It is yours and mine, taxpayers' money, right? It's important that we keep a watch that how it is being spent, right? And healthcare is a good spending to have, right? Because it makes people more productive, right? Allows them to do what they want better and achieve their potential, whatever, right? Constantly humanize something, constantly use language and terms, right, that they use in their day-to-day life, and you'll see them talking in a manner and a format that you want them to. Right? And then you'll suddenly see them, talking about policy issues, because the thing is, and we forget this every single time, we're trying to communicate policy, that public policy, everything under the sun, right? It is everything under the sun, right? So gender, healthcare, education, environment, menstrual rights, I don't know, nuclear energy, right?
So, no, I think there's a lot of merit in what you said, but मैं दो बातों को
Yeah.
choose करूँगी और थोड़ा और discuss करूँगी,
Yeah.
Yash. And for the benefit of our audience, आपने कहा elite.
Yeah.
I think lest it be taken out of context,
Yeah.
I think that is the perception of policy making.
Yeah.
कि ये elite है, मतलब इसको या तो बहुत सारी डिग्री वाले लोग उस पे काम करते हैं, या इस पे बहुत बूढ़े लोग काम करते हैं, या ये ऐसी चीज़ है जो मतलब रूरल इंडिया के लिए बनी है, या गरीब लोगों के लिए बनी है, या ये उन लोगों के लिए बनी है जो धरना देते हैं. सो एलीट, हम पॉलिसी मेकिंग को उसी जब जरिए से देखते हैं तब हमें वो एलीट लगती है, वरना एलीट नहीं है. पॉलिसी मेकिंग हम सब के लिए है, राइट? इनफैक्ट अगर मैं एक यंग स्टूडेंट हूँ या यंग प्रोफेशनल हूँ जो सोच रहा है कि मैं बाहर जाके काम करूँ या इंडिया में काम करूँ, तो आई विल केयर अबाउट पॉलिसी मेकिंग कि सरकार मेरे लिए क्या कर रही है. तो आई थिंक एलीट इज दैट वन स्टिग्मा अटैच्ड टू पॉलिसी मेकिंग व्हिच आई हैव अ बिग प्रॉब्लम विद, राइट? द सेकंड थिंग दैट आई वांट टू sort of prod you about is this humanizing policy making, which I love, right? Because a lot of our work at Outline India is about humanizing data collection.
Yeah.
एंड जब भी मैं किसी पैनल डिस्कशन या लेक्चर देती हूँ, मैं हमेशा कहती हूँ कि वी माइट पिक अप अ न्यूज़पेपर, अ मैगजीन, और उसमें बहुत सारे नंबर्स आते हैं, परसेंटेजेस आते हैं. आप एक दिन बैठ के सोचिए कि द क्वांटम ऑफ एफर्ट दैट वाज पुट इन टू कम अप विद दैट डेटा पॉइंट. कोई आदमी अपने घर से उठ के किसी छुट्टी के दिन सुबह शाम बारिश में, गर्मी में, धूप में, बहुत सर्दी में एक बस लेके गया, फिर एक शेयर्ड ऑटो लेके गया, फिर 4 किलोमीटर पैदल चल के गया उस औरत से बात करने के लिए कि उसकी ज़रूरतें क्या हैं, उसकी मुश्किलें क्या है. फिर वो डेटा आया हमारे पास, उस डेटा को हमने समझा, उस डेटा को हमने क्लीन किया, उस डेटा को हमने एनालाइज किया, फिर उसकी रिपोर्ट लिखी. फिर वो रिपोर्ट कुछ सालों बाद शायद किसी मैगजीन ने उठाई, और आज जब वो मैगजीन पब्लिश हुई है तो आप, मैं और सभी पढ़ रहे हैं, राइट? सो this humanizing of policy making is so personal to me and to all of us here, right? You want to talk about this a little bit more for your work?
No, absolutely. I'll come to the first question that you asked. I think so. These are two very different things, actually, Prerna. So if something is driven by a class of people who are elite in the context of a particular society that they operate in, does not mean that the act itself is elitist.
Correct.
So the Indian Constitution was written by a class of people who were fairly elite by their time standards.
Correct.
But the Indian Constitution is not elitist. It's a revolutionary document.
I like that. I like
Just
that
as an
so
example,
much. Yes, thank you.
Right?
Yes.
So two different things.
Yes.
Secondly, policy making है सबके लिए, but policy making हर कोई नहीं करता, right?
Good
and
point.
that's again a hazard of the trade, in the sense, if you have to engage in such an endeavor by virtue of it just being, the society as it is, you have to be in the elite in the sense that you can afford an education like that, right? At the end of the day, this is a science, right? It's technicalities, right? Nuances to it. You need to have a background in this. Having said that, one thing I think it's important for me to draw the inference over here, which is there's like 5 stages to policy making, and I'll skip the technicalities, but just broadly. So we call it IDME: ideation, design, implementation, monitoring, evaluation, right? Broadly, that's policy making in a nutshell, right? No, absolutely. In fact, there's the reason we use the word public policy or lok niti, right? That this is something for the masses, for everyone, right? This is almost like you giving the rights or the responsibility of your welfare to these abstractions that we call institutions, right? जिसे हम संस्थाएं कहते हैं, right? That ये हमारा ख्याल रखेंगे, हमारे हकों का ख्याल रखेंगे, right? They look out for our well-being or prosperity, right? Every single choice that's made in a 5-kilometer diameter in central Delhi, right, impacts every single Indian every single day, right? Every single day.
That's a good statement. That 5-kilometer diameter determines what 1.4 billion people. It enables them or disables them.
Or stifles them.
Fair enough.
Yeah. A fifth of humanity. The 5-kilometer
radius. A fifth of humanity.
Yeah.
Yes.
And increasingly in state capitals as well.
Fair enough.
Right. And so it's like, and by the way, all of this is being run on your own money as well, right? Even the poorest Indian, when they buy a 2 rupees packet of chips, there's indirect taxes. Everyone's paying taxes as well. It's your money. It's choices being made on your behalf for you, and it'll impact you. I don't think there's anything else in which you should be this involved as anything else, right? Probably this warrants all your attention, nothing else, right? I can tell you honestly that if India's economy, right, and at a personal level, if India's economy hadn't seen the kind of growth it did in the early 2000s, right, for a decade, I probably wouldn't, my family probably wouldn't have been able to afford me the kind of education they did, right? I wouldn't be here, honestly, right? It was a very different, it was a huge step up. I was just reading the UPSC results were declared last week, right? So many wonderful stories, right? This guy who lost his parents in COVID, he's a daily wage worker, he cleared, like, these are entire lives getting changed, right? When the government allows free businesses, enterprises, right, to flourish, they are creating more and more jobs. People are climbing up the economic ladder, right? You're changing entire generations, right? That they can imagine for a better future, right? And do things that they have always wanted to do. It all flows down from policy, right? And by the way, the cost of doing this wrong are also humongous. We saw this in the second wave, right? I have no need to elaborate, right? There's a reason why in 1990, India and China were equally prosperous. Today, China is 5 times richer than us. There's a reason why in 1990, India and Pakistan, actually Pakistan was more prosperous than we were, but they are far behind. All 3 countries made very different policy choices, and so that's why we have ended up in the pecking order that we have, right? So it's just about that. Policy has consequences, right? It just matters. Why did you start with Outline India? Because I know that the work that Outline does, and I'll love for you to expand, informs policy making, right? Evidence-based policy making, which again impacts people, right? Otherwise, you're just shooting darts in the dark, right? So the work that Outline does is created in that sense. So why do you start with this, right? And what is the kind of work that we do, and and any impact stories that you can share?
So maybe I'll start with the story itself, Yash. This is something I tell my colleagues and family. मेरी family को तो ठीक से शायद पता भी नहीं है मैं करती क्या हूँ या Outline India क्या करती है, but family में सबको ये पता है सर्वे करती है Outline India, but सिर्फ सर्वे तो काफ़ी simplistic explanation हो गया. मतलब मैं ये कहना चाहूँगी कि I might forget the client, I might forget कि क्या research assessment था, मुझे शायद ये याद ना हो कि evaluation क्या था या sector क्या था. मैं पिछले 10 सालों में जिस भी गांव में गई हूँ, जिन लोगों से मिली हूँ, मुझे आज भी उन सबकी शक्लें याद है. मुझे आज भी ये याद है कि उन्होंने मुझसे क्या बोला था, राइट? एंड ऑन द क्वेश्चन ऑफ I want to tell the audience why what Outline India does matters, right? आप किसी गांव में जाइए, आप किसी के घर में जाइए, आप खटखटाएंगे, वो आपको समय देंगे. वो खेत जा रहे हो या वो औरत अपने बच्चों के लिए खाना बना रही हो या कोई आदमी किसी दुकान में काम करता हो, वो उस काम को थोड़ी देर रोकेंगे. They will give you that time even though they don't know you. क्यों वो आपको अपना समय देते हैं? क्योंकि उन्हें ये लगता है कि प्रेरणा मैडम या प्रेरणा की टीम या आउटलाइन इंडिया की टीम जो दिल्ली से आई है, गुड़गांव से आई है, वो शायद उनकी लाइफ को थोड़ा सा बेहतर कर सकती है, थोड़ा सा. या उनको शायद ये लगता है कि उनका जो दर्द है वो somebody on the outside शायद महसूस कर सकता है. या उनको ये लगता है कि उनकी जो ज़रूरतें हैं जो वो शायद दिल्ली तक नहीं पहुंचा पा रहे हैं या डिस्ट्रिक्ट ऑफिस तक नहीं पहुंचा पा रहे हैं या स्टेट लेवल पे सरकार तक नहीं पहुंचा पा रहे हैं, आउटलाइन इंडिया वो आवाज़ है जो उनकी ज़रूरतें, उनकी आवाज़, उनके ओपिनियंस, उनके नीड्स, उनके डिज़ायर्स, उनके एस्पिरेशंस को डेटा के ज़रिए से दिल्ली तक ले जाएगी. और फिर शायद उस रिपोर्ट से या शायद उनके काम से ऐसा कुछ हो कि एक नई पॉलिसी आएगी या कुछ ऐसी फंडिंग आएगी या पॉलिसी में बदलाव आएगा जिससे शायद उनकी ज़िंदगी थोड़ी सी बेहतर हो जाएगी. शायद कोई आके उनके गांव में एक हैंडपम्प लगा जाएगा या शायद जिस सरकारी स्कूल में आजकल टीचर नहीं आते हैं अब रोज़ टीचर आने लगेंगे. या जिस पीएचसी में एक कोल्ड स्टोरेज यूनिट नहीं है ब्लड स्टोर करने के लिए, कोई ऐसी फंडिंग दे देगा कि वो कोल्ड स्टोरेज यूनिट आ जाए, राइट? तो इट्स इंक्रीमेंटल चेंज, यस, राइट? तो कहने में टेक्निकल टर्म्स में हम मॉनिटरिंग एंड इवैल्यूएशन करते हैं या जैसे हम इम्पैक्ट ऑडिट करते हैं या बिल्कुल देसी भाषा में हम सर्वे कंपनी है, हम सर्वे करते हैं, बट हम सर्वे फॉर इम्पैक्ट करते हैं. एंड इम्पैक्ट को डिफाइन करना शायद मैं ना कर पाऊँ. इट्स अ लार्जर देन लाइफ टर्म, राइट? इम्पैक्ट मीन्स एवरीथिंग, राइट? इम्पैक्ट इज डीप, इम्पैक्ट इज वन वर्ड, राइट? And impact is every second of our lives, right? And the goal of Outline India when we set out 10 years ago was to add our little 2 cents or change the world for the better just by a little bit. right? Incremental change, everyday plug-in. हम हेल्थ में भी काम करेंगे, स्किल्स में भी काम करेंगे, लाइवलीहुड्स में भी काम करेंगे, हमें सेक्टर से उतना फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता, मगर हमें लगता है कि हम यहाँ सिर्फ अपने ऑफिस में बैठ के काम नहीं करते, चाहे हमारे क्लाइंट यूएस में हो, यूके में हो, कोई थिंक टैंक हो, कोई सीएसआर हो, चाहे सरकार की बॉडी हो, हमें फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता आप कहाँ बैठे हैं. वी आर लाइक योर ईयर्स एंड आइज ऑन द ग्राउंड, वी आर योर फुट सोल्जर्स, राइट. एंड शुरू में जब हमारी कंपनी चालू हुई थी तो लोगों को समझ नहीं आता था कि भाई क्यों इन लोगों को ऐसा काम करना है. और मेरा ये सोचना था कि आप जब इंडिया के बारे में सोचते तो आप सोचते हैं अरे दे आर सो गुड एट नंबर्स, दे आर सो गुड एट एनालाइजिंग डेटा, बट व्हाट इज द डेटा दैट यू आर एनालाइजिंग, राइट? एंड our work matters because the superset of India, or at least 50-55% of India, is not online or intermittently online, right? And a lot of women and children are not online, right? And this 55% or 60%, or if you include women, children, the number blows up further, right? They may not have the money to recharge their phones, or they may not get, I mean, network is still now widely available, but maybe it's usually the man at the household level who has that cell phone, या हो सकता है एक सेल फोन 5 लोगों की फैमिली में शेयर किया जा रहा है. जब उन बच्चों को, जब उन औरतों को, या जब उन फैमिलीज़ को, या जब उन किसानों को बताना है कि उनको क्या चाहिए सरकार से या पॉलिसी से, तो हम वो ज़रिया है. तो मैं बस इतना कहना चाहूँगी कि आउटलाइन इंडिया एक ज़रिया है फॉर पॉलिसी मेकिंग, and that's why it matters.
No, absolutely, Prerna. So I think it'll be a very fair assessment to make that आप जो काम करते हो वो लोक नीति की बुनियाद है. It forms the premise for policy making, the kind of work that you do, at least to a huge extent. And it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you so much for making time this morning, Yash. Your work in policy making and educating the youth about what policies are all about is so important, and in the manner that you explained this to the audience is so important. That'll be a wrap on our first of the many shows to air in the series titled Why Should I Care? #to hame kya. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good one.